Okay, I am going to discuss to you when to use Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator when implementing your project. Adobe Photoshop is a graphics editing program developed and published by Adobe. Photoshop has been a useful tool for graphic designers to create artwork conveniently and aesthetically. For example, design studios can use Photoshop in order to visualize their take on an initial concept and then move onto different media to complete the concept. This program deals with raster-based imagery, but can handle some vector imaging, but not to the extent that Illustrator can. One of the main advantages of raster images is the number of pixels can create a tone like such a photography. The main disadvantages of raster is the pixelization happens when you enlarge an image. The pixels become too blurry and the quality of the image is gone down. Another disadvantage of the raster is the bigger the resolution, the larger the file size. Usually, if you're only going to create graphics for the internet, usually 72 pixels per inch is what is needed. When you want to print quality material, you want to use 300 pixels per inch. Now, Adobe Illustrator is primarily a vector graphic manipulation software. A vector graphics editor is a computer program that allows users to compose and edit vector graphics images interactively on a computer. It is used to create images that are small in file size but can be resized to any dimension while still maintaining print quality. Some common uses for Illustrator is for logos, illustrations, layouts for flyers, advertisements, billboards, signage, brochures, business cards, web design, and loads more. Illustrator can be used for just about anything outside of photographic images. Using Illustrator, it is nearly impossible to create a continuous tone. Now we will be getting ready to explore Adobe Photoshop and then Adobe Illustrator. Okay, this is the opening of Adobe Photoshop, at this time CS6. I am going to show you some of the things I have pointed out earlier with the raster-based images. So for now, we're just going to create a new document. And this is the normal way. This is a resolution box. Like I said earlier, this is you're primarily going to use the 72 because that is used for images being viewed on the internet, and 300 if you print out stuff for photography or other means of marketing handouts. So for now, we're going to use 72. And just realize the bigger the file gets, of course, the bigger. Notice how the bigger the file gets, the more memory it will take. And remember, if this is being posted on the internet, you want to stay around 500 kilobytes or so, which is pretty average number to shoot for now after your file has been compressed into a JPEG format. So I'm going to go ahead and create an image here. Now the main tools you're going to work with are your brush, your eraser, and you do have some vector tools here, the vector pen and the type tool, which that could be used later. But for now, let's import an image so I can show you the pixelization that can occur. Okay, now that I have an image, I'm going to show you what it means by pixelization. Now, pixelization occurs when you take an image that is from the internet. This one here is 180 by 180 at 72 dpi. Now, it looks normal here under normal circumstances. Now, if I want to enlarge it, let's say I enlarge it to 700 pixels wide. It may look fine for now, but we're only seeing it as part of the image. If we want to see it the way it would print out, you zoom in, zoom out a little bit, and you start to see this uncoordinated phasing right here that is not the way the image was really meant. That is what is meant by pixelization. Okay, now that I've shown you some of the advantages, disadvantages of Adobe Photoshop, I'm going to show you Adobe Illustrator. Now, this program is highly recommended from Dr. Ramachandran when creating logos or any online stuff for your website. Now, the image is automatically set as 300 pixels per inch, whereas earlier with Photoshop you could choose. Now, with this you could still set your width, height, and we can leave all the other options alone for now. So, hit OK. Now, when you load this program up, you'll notice a lot of different tools on the left. Your main art tool is most likely going to be this little nifty pen tool. Now, with the pen tool, you will create points. Kind of like connect the dots if you think about it. You create another point and it automatically creates a line. Now, you can also create a curved line by say I want to put a point right here. Click a point and then extend it out, and I can create a nice little fancy curve. Now, I don't want to get into other advanced course material. This way you have a familiar understanding on where to start from. Now, let me finish this. Okay, change the color so you can see. Now, the reason I finished this image is to show you what I was talking about earlier about the scalability of the images. Now let's zoom in on the file. Now, as you can see, let me shrink down the image so you can see the magnification. This shows it at the magnification of 2400%. And the lines look crisp. Now this will be true if you go to scale it, let's say we're going to shrink it down. Now let's zoom all the way in. Nice, perfect curves, straight line, solid coloring. Now, let's go the opposite route and enlarge the image. Now I'm sure that's way bigger than what I originally created it. So let's zoom in. Still pixel perfect imagery. That is the reason why we choose vector-based images over raster-based images. That concludes the podcast. I hope you found it very informational, and thank you.